had lost all my friends' money. They'd all backed me. And I'd gotten up some good buildings, but I just couldn't get around to making money. As far as I could see, I never would like to get on with that game of making money. That I could get on with the Navy thing, but I couldn't get on with the making money game. And I just didn't have that hard thing you really needed to suddenly do the other fellow.
Now you may wonder how I know, because I spend so much time with poor people. But I know rich people. You know, they can't fool me. I grew up in privilege. Some of my Harvard classmates are very wealthy, powerful people. And they, you know, and they talk to me, they tell me what they do for their children. Some of them like me, still like me. They're nervous with me sometimes. They think I want to redistribute their wealth, but which I do, but
must also talk over together the other factor which exists in our consciousness, which is sorrow, grief, pain, and the wound, the hurts that exist in most human beings from childhood. The hurt, from that hurt, psychological hurt, the pain of it, the remembrance of it, the holding on to it, and the grief that arises from it. And also, there is grief involved, sorrow involved in it, and also there is the global sorrow of mankind, which have faced thousands and thousands of wars, millions and millions of people have cried. And this war machine is still going on, directed by the politicians, by our nationalism, by our feeling that we are separate from the rest, we and they, you and me. That's the global sorrow, which the politicians are building. And we are ready for another war. I hope there won't be, but when you are preparing for something, there must be some kind of explosion somewhere. It may not be in the Middle East, it may happen here. As long as you are preparing for something, you are going to get it. Like preparing food. But we are so, if I may use the word without disrespect, we are so stupid to allow all this to go on.
Kids who have been led to compete against others are less trusting. Again, duh. Why would I trust other people if I keep finding myself in activities where their success comes at the price of my failure? If I've been raised on a diet of hockey and spelling bees and which row is quietest and can go to lunch fastest and who's going to get the prize for the best essay. Of course I don't trust anyone. It's not because there's something wrong with me. It's because adults keep making me try to beat my friends. The problem is with the structure that sets kids against each other. When is that ever likely to be beneficial psychologically or interpersonally? Not that I can find.
We live in a world built around a mistaken model of human motivation. From our workplaces, to our banking systems, to our network structures, that are all built around this core fundamental error. And that basic error is not that we are sometimes self-interested. That's correct. That basic error is the idea that we can properly model and build our systems according to a model that assumes that part of rationality is self-interest. And that if we approximate who we are by saying that we are more or less uniformly, more or less self-interested, we won't go too wrong. Whether it's in building structures of control that depend on reward and punishment, whether it's building market systems that depend on getting the incentives right, by which we mean getting the material incentives right, in each of these cases we've built systems across a broad range that depend on this model and that turn out in work throughout multiple fields and multiple areas of practice to simply be wrong.
And I want to say this about psychologists. Any psychologist or psychiatrist that would try to adjust you to this system is going to be extremely stupid. In real applied science, we would do away with the conditions that generate aberrant behavior.
To create human beings that actually work together and respect each other. That's really the point, wouldn't you say?
Exactly that. In other words, if you bring up children in a home with warmth and love, they have warmth and love to give. If they're brought up in a home where the parents fight continuously and the child is neglected, that child has no warmth to give. You don't put him in jail. He's a victim of culture. The criminal justice system is a criminal justice system. It's not based upon reference. It's based upon immediate solutions where you put a man in jail when he doesn't behave instead of study the condition, get rid of it. You have to do the same thing with disease. You don't put a person in prison when they get a disease. You're trying to control it, find the conditions that produce it, and move people away from those conditions as best you can. And move people away from those conditions as best you can.
So, we are asking, perhaps we shall continue with it next, day after tomorrow, we are asking whether this whole pattern of being hurt, lonely, pain, resistance, withdrawal, isolation, which causes further pain, grief, sorrow of my son's death, sorrow of losing something, losing some precious belief that I've held, the disillusionment that comes when I've followed somebody. One has given one's life one's endeavor, struggle to somebody, surrendered oneself to something, and then get disillusioned. And from that, pain, anxiety, uncertainty, sorrow. You have noticed all this. That's the pattern of our consciousness. When one asks, is it possible ever to be free of all this? It is possible if we apply, not endlessly talk about it.
Exactly. But a lot of scientists that are in research, particularly behavioral scientists like psychiatrists and psychologists, really don't have the ability to state the problem. They don't know what it is, so they hang a label on it. They give people labels. We need descriptions of the conditions that produce jealousy, envy, hatred. They think that's human nature. The average person, instead of saying, I don't know why most people are jealous, or they've been jealous all through history, I don't know what causes that, but I'm certainly interested in trying to find out, and that's what science is. Not stopping and inventing your own answers, but trying to find out what makes hurricanes, what makes tsunamis, instead of saying, gee, I hope it doesn't happen. That's irrelevant. What does count is what you do to alleviate suffering and pain in human beings. That is warmth. That is spirituality, not going to church every Sunday, praying and bothering God continuously for your own selfish needs. I think even Jesus said, by their work you shall know them. So get up off your butt and try to make the world a better place.